This video is for educational and entertainment only. My goal is to inform others about the true horrors of manufacturing, selling, and being addicted to methamphetamines for over 20 years, and only getting caught once 5 years ago. I've been clean from all substances ever since that day. I cannot confirm or deny that any of these stories ever happened or that I have made over 25,000 drug deals since the mid-90s. Maybe I'm just a guy with a very good imagination who can make up incredible stories with amazing continuity throughout many dates and timelines. It took me 5 years for me to get a clear head in order to even think about these stories without them triggering me or urging me to return to the life I led for so many years. By viewing the contents of this video or any other video of mine, you agree to not attempt or recreate anything seen or heard while viewing them. I am not confessing to any acts stated in this video. The contents of this video should not be treated as factual or a confession. All names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. We got a story for you today. This comes from the year is 2012, and I'm at home, and this is when I was living in my parents' basement again with my whole family there. It was a normal night. I had some weed to sell, and I always had meth to sell. So this particular night, a friend of mine calls me up and says he needs some weed. So I said I'll be down there in about 20 minutes. So a little bit after that, I jump in my truck and I head down to my buddy Troy's house. Now, I've known Troy since I was probably in second grade, and he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he's always got a lot of money, and he likes to go with me once in a while. We would usually do a little dumpster diving and then go run around, and he gets to get out of the house, and I trust him, so it's all cool. As far as for me, I'm not really the one to be traveling around with a lot of drugs because I don't want to get pulled over and get busted, but I always do have my stash, and the people that I'm going to have their own scales, so I don't bring mine with. So I left my scale at home, and I just have my meth and maybe $30 worth of some good sticky bud. So me and Troy head over to my other buddy's house, and he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for about maybe 5 years, so we start heading over there, and we were riding in my Dodge, regular cab, 8-foot box, two-wheel drive, and Troy's riding shotgun, so he starts smoking weed, which I don't agree with, because if we get pulled over, of course, they're going to smell it, and of course, it's not going to be good, because if they search me, they'll find my meth, and that definitely is not good. But like I said before, he's not that fucking smart, so we're almost to my other buddy's house. His name is Josh, and Josh knows Troy, so everything is cool. We go inside, and there's a bunch of people fucking around. It's kind of like a trap house, but not really that bad. So we go inside, and he wants some of my sticky bud, so I give him that, and he gives me like $40, and he says, "Here, snort this." And I said, "Well, what the fuck is that?" He says it's heroin. And I mean, it was just a little itty bit. I couldn't believe how small of an amount it was, but I figured, what the hell? So me being all fucking cool and everything, I rolled up a bill and I snorted it, and it kind of burned a little bit. It was just kind of weird to me. I thought nothing of it. So me and Troy get back in my truck, and we start going again, and now we're heading to my other buddy's house. He needed a little bit of meth, so we start cruising across town. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, it's Labor Day weekend, and there's extra patrols out, but we're not drinking, so we're not really worried about it. But there are cops everywhere. So I go across town, and by now I'm starting to feel really, really sick. All of a sudden, like the truck starts spinning, and I am just sicker than a fucking dog, and I can't wait to get to my other buddy's house because I'm feeling sick, and it's getting kind of hard to drive. I feel like I'm going to throw up. You know, I'm not really feeling high. I'm just really sick as fuck, and I know it was from the heroin, but like I said, I've never done it before, so I get to my buddy's house, and I see that there's nobody home, but we're in his driveway, and all of a sudden I got a fucking hurl somewhere, and I get outside of my truck, and I power heave a projectile puke all over his fucking driveway, and I get back in the truck, and Troy, he's just a stupid fucker. He's just getting high and don't even know what the fuck's going on. He's just over there fucking smoking his weed, and he keeps saying, "Let's get going somewhere," or "Let's go dumpster diving," or something. He's just a fucking idiot. I said, "I'm just getting my fucking ass home," so we get in the truck, and I'm sick as hell. It's about 7 p.m., so we think we have nothing to worry about, right? So we now are cruising home in the downtown area of the city. Now I'm going about 35 miles an hour, barely over the speed limit, and we're driving, and I'm getting closer to home. I'm probably 2 miles away, and all of a sudden we see a cop coming towards us, and I'm going the opposite direction towards him, and he passes me, and I see that he whips it around and throws his lights on, and I thought, oh my fucking God, he's coming after me. Troy's shitting bricks, and I just remember that I had a meth pipe in my pocket also, because I really didn't think we had any problems because we were not drinking, and figured I could talk my way out of it. And it was still early in the evening, so I slowed down, and I'm grabbing my bag of meth out of my pocket. I sold all the weed, and I shoved my meth in between the seats, thinking that it would be good enough, but I had a bad feeling that shit was going to get fucking bad in a hurry. So the cop comes up to my side, and lights were flashing like fucking crazy. Another cop car pulls up, so the first cop comes up to me and says, you know why I pulled you over? I said, I don't know, maybe I was speeding? He says, no, because you and your buddy have your seatbelts off. I look at Troy, and sure shit, our seatbelts were off. But I couldn't fucking believe it. But you got to remember, I was so fucking sick, I could barely even talk to the officer. I was so sick, and then he shines his flashlight in my eyes. Another cop comes up to him, and he says to the other cop, he goes, look at his eyes, he's definitely on something. And I'm going to myself, I'm thinking, holy fuck, this is not good. So he pulls me out of the truck, he frisks me and searches me, and he feels my meth pipe in my pocket, and he says, what's this in your pocket? And I said, it's a pipe. And then he said, you're under arrest for driving under the influence of methamphetamine. So he handcuffed me and sets me down on the curb behind my truck, and then he gets my buddy Troy out of the truck and handcuffed him and set him down by the curb. And first they search him, and what they found is his weed pipe, a bag of weed, and a bag of meth, and his meth pipe, and he got all that in there, so we better search his truck. And the other officer goes and searches my truck, and it's on Troy's side, and they find another meth pipe. I thought, what the fuck? What a stupid fucker. He brings 2 meth pipes with, and he didn't even tell me. So he searches the truck. For some reason, some miracle, they never found my 3 grams of meth that I stashed in between the seats. And I just couldn't fucking believe it. Because anything over 2.5 grams is a serious charge. So they never find it, and the officer tells me that he has another officer coming that is in charge of drug testing drivers under the influence of drugs. So I remain sitting there on the curb, and the car parked up to my... sitting next to the curb, and the car parked up to my buddy Troy, and he takes the handcuffs off and says, get out of here. And you see, Troy was sweating his nuts off because he had a drug possession charge that was going through the courts at the time, way up north, like 2 hours up north in Minnesota. So he gets cut loose, and he just starts walking. They say, get the fuck out of there. And he gets out of there in a hurry. And for me, I knew that at the time that if you would get your blood taken, that it would take up to 3 months for them to get the test back from the lab, which means that I could drive my truck for another 3 months. And so they gave me the choice. They said to me, if you get your blood tested right now, tonight, you'll be going home tonight. We just drive you down to the hospital, they draw the blood, and then you can go free. And I said, okay, that sounds good. So he, before he stuffed me in the back of the cop car, he tells the other cop to search my truck one more time. So the other cop goes and he searches my truck one more time, and I'm sweating it out because I'm thinking they can get me really bad if they find that shit. So a couple minutes later, the cop comes out of the truck and says, it's clean. And I thought, holy fuck, I'm one lucky motherfucker, while I'm sitting there in handcuffs. So he stuffs me back in the cop car, and we head down to the hospital, and he takes me inside, they draw my blood, and they bring me back out, still handcuffed, and they say, you can make a phone call. I call home, and my mom answers, and I tell her that I got pulled over, and they think I'm under the influence, but They're letting me go because they were wrong. So I basically lied to her. So she said, okay. And she jumps in her car and she comes over and gets me out of there. And of course, she's fucking pissed off. But deep down, I know that I'm fucked. The blood test is going to come back and it's going to be positive for all kinds of shit. And I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. And at this time, I had a driver's license, but I just had it for just a very short time. And before that, I didn't have it for years. So I was pissed at myself because I loved being able to drive legally. But now that I know that it's going to be fucked again, I'm going to have to be back to riding bikes or fuck, who knows what I'm going to do. I'm all bummed out. So I go home, I'm laying in bed, and I said to my wife, I said, we got to make a trip down to the cities. I got to get a lawyer. And someone told me a good name of a lawyer, so I called him, and he agreed to meet with me. And I go down to cities with my wife, and we go in this lawyer's office. He tells me it's going to cost $4,000, $2,000 up front because that's all I had, and so I give him $2,000. And he says that the search didn't seem right, so he tells me we're going to plead not guilty, and that we're going to stretch it out over a period of a year, and I'm going to go and get valid before we finally go to court. And I think that's what they say to everybody. I don't know, but I guess I felt a little confident in it. So I said, okay. So I get the drug test back, and just like I thought, I was polluted with all kinds of drugs in my system. A couple of weeks later, my lawyer meets me in my town because he lives 60 miles away. So he meets me, and we go into the court for the first court date. He reassures me the first court appearance is nothing. I don't have to say a word, and I go in there, and it's our turn. When we both go before the judge is female. She's pretty good looking, and she's a pretty good looking judge. And I couldn't fucking believe it. She was flirting with my lawyer. I couldn't fucking believe it. How can I be so fucking lucky that I get a lawyer from 60 miles away, and it's obvious to me that not only does he know her, that she has a crush on him. And I walked outside with him afterwards, and I told him that things are looking fucking good from my end. He says, I said, she fucking likes you. He says that they met many years ago in college, and I'm thinking to myself, no fucking way. So he gets a continuance and tells her that I'm going to get valid, and everything goes our way because she wants to see him again, obviously. So this went on for a couple more months, and within this time, a new law had passed where it was illegal to take blood samples without a search warrant. I could not believe the luck that I'm having. So the next court hearing is scheduled, and it's the one right before the jury trial. And I'm kind of sweating it out. 2 weeks before this next court hearing, I get a phone call from my lawyer, and you see, I only gave him $2,000 to start, and I had the other $2,000. But so he calls me and he tells me, "Are you ready for court?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so." He goes, "I got good news for you." I said, what news is that? He says, "I've been talking to the judge all morning long, and I met with her. She signed a few papers, and all you got to do is bring the other $2,000, meet me down at the restaurant parking lot near me." And so I pedal my ass off down there, and I signed the papers. Before I say the end of the story, I suppose you were all wondering whatever happened to the 3 grams of meth that I stashed in my truck. Well, when they took me to the hospital to get my blood test, they asked me where do I want to take the truck, and I told them which towing company. And the next day, the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, we went down there to the towing company, and I couldn't drive my truck, but I had them tow it to my house. And they towed it up to my house. I opened the door, and I pulled up the seat, and right behind the driver's seat, right on top in plain sight, was my baggie with 3 grams in it. Although I got charged with meth DUI, and although it was my 4th DUI I've ever had in my life, I still look at that whole situation as one of the luckiest days in my life because it could have been so much worse. So much worse. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoy the story, leave a like or leave a comment, and please subscribe. And if you have any subjects or topics you'd like me to cover in my next video, just leave the comment. I've been out there in the trenches for 20 years, so I got a lot of stories. I can answer a lot of questions. So feel free to leave a comment, ask a question. Thank you. Till next time, peace.